What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle, the wrestling video podcast I run over here on youtube.com/UC Campbell. And this is actually going live and airing live on November 16th, 2018. I know we're doing it a little bit differently and on a different day than we traditionally do. Traditionally, we do these episodes on we traditionally do these episodes on Sundays. Today is a Friday. Well, one of the reasons is because it's NXT TakeOver and Survivor Series weekend, so I wanted to talk about the stuff that was relevant before the show actually, before the shows went live, to go along with it. So it was, and boy, was it a very interesting week, to say the least, especially on WWE side of everything. It was a crazy week all around. Raw itself, outside of that main section of it, was eh. And then, of course, the main event segment was absolutely fantastic to go along with it. And SmackDown was just, let's just have fun with it. Let's just have fun with everything this week and just go with it that way. But before we fully get into that, please bear with me. I've had a bit of a cough today, so it's I may be drinking a little bit more to keep hydrated throughout the entire thing. We'll see how everything works out. We're not even really going to go much into news, because the news itself is pretty much self-explanatory with what happened this week on both Raw and SmackDown, and then of course we had NXT and the Mixed Match Challenge as well to go along with it. If you really want to talk weird news and what's up, Teddy Hart, how you doing? Teddy Two Stoned Hart. That is awesome name. I'll go with that. That is a nice name there. And just going with everything that happened this week is kind of crazy to think about. And yes, we're going to talk about exactly what you think we're going to talk about throughout the week. Everybody else has kind of been doing it. I've held off on saying what I've wanted to say for a little while. We'll just leave it at that. No, I'm not going to be one of those crazy attack style upon this, but we are going to present evidence as it is. And yes, I did hear about James Ellsworth. If we did really want to go crazy about news, there was a couple weird bits of news this week. So we will talk about that a little bit, and then we'll go into Monday Night Raw. And trust me, we will be getting into everything with what happened on Monday Night Raw, as I'm going to continually check over here to make sure I'm not dropping frames on the stream as well. I know it's going to be a little bit weird on that side, but first of all, the little bit of news, not on James Ellsworth, but the former Enzo Amore, or I think he calls himself pretty much at Real One as his stage name now. He apparently got kicked off of a Delta flight for vaping. Which, if you do know, and like I said, I think the full story hasn't fully gone out, and I have not watched Enzo's talking about it as well. He claims he wasn't vaping at the time. Maybe he had the vapor out or something like that. I don't know the exact story, but it was an interesting little bit. They claimed that he was vaping on there, and of course, with all flights, they do prohibit all smoking. This does include the little vape cigarettes to go along with it. They do prohibit those as well on the planes. So apparently he got kicked off of a plane on that one. He does claim that he was not vaping on there. And that one does need a little bit more research into where it's going. But Enzo Amore was back into the news again to go along with it, and he was boarding a flight. I think he was boarding a flight from New York to LA, which, that's a little weird. That it was a little weird. He should have smoked. He should. We'll go full 420 on that one. He should have been smoking a blunt. I like that comment in there, Teddy. I will interact with the chat whenever I get a chance, and whenever things do pop up in there. That is kind of a funny little bit. Like I said, the full story isn't out there. Enzo again claims he wasn't doing that on the plane. Again, maybe it was one of those bits where he had a where it was out. He had an argument with the stewardess or the people on the plane itself. They did have to turn the plane back around and go back in to off the runway and to get him off the plane to go along with it. And I think as they were leaving, there was one fan who shouted, "How you doing?" And he responded to that one a little bit. He gave it kind of a chuckle to go along with that. Again, full story's not out there yet. Again, he claims he wasn't. They claim he was, or there was something, or he was just being belligerent to the people, the employees on the plane. They did end up kicking him off the plane. On that one, again, we'll save judgment for a full story on that one, and also being able to check out the full story. Most of that was coming out today, kind of as I was about to go live. Matter of fact, another thing that was going out live is that there is an accuser. I don't know their name, but apparently it was a 16-year-old accusing James Ellsworth of sending, well, not decent photos, which I have not read his response, but James Ellsworth has responded to it. I'm assuming it will be denying anything on that to go along with it. It's again another story that just kind of came out today. Haven't had a full chance of researching everything on it, and maybe we'll talk about it a little bit more on next week's podcast or something to go along with that after I've had a little bit more time to read into everything, because again, we were setting up everything this week to kind of go through Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Mixed Match Challenge, all that fun jazz, and all of the changes that ended up happening to Survivor Series. And this was a very interesting episode of Monday Night Raw to go along with. I thought it ended up being a very good episode, especially with the main event segment. With that one, it did start off with what looked like it was going to be a match. They were going to have the tag team battle royal to determine the captain for the Survivor Series tag team match, where all the tag teams, it's going to be the 10-person tag again, which, yeah, they're doing that match again. I'm not a big fan of that one, but it is what it is. They did have pretty much the entire team in there. You had Lucha House Party, you had Chad Gable and Bobby Roode. The Ascension was in there. The Revival was in there. The B Team was in there. Pretty much everybody that was on the team was in there. They started having the match. Braun immediately interrupts and destroys everybody. So apparently Braun Strowman does not like tag team battle royals at all. This is the second one this year he is interrupted in some way, shape, or form. The first time he won the match. This time around he decided to say, yeah, no, this match is not happening. And Strowman gets a chair, basically hijacks the show. He wants Baron Corbin to get in the ring for everything that he had done to him, costing the Universal title, everything on that side. This does prompt Stephanie to come out. She starts talking up Survivor Series and everything to go along with it. Braun was pretty much steadfast throughout this entire thing, saying he doesn't care about Survivor Series. He wants only one thing, that's Baron Corbin, and then eventually Brock Lesnar. Stephanie is like, okay, I'll promise you anything. Trains, planes, houses, anything to get you to be on Survivor Series. Like, I don't care about those things. And it's like, I want a Universal title shot, and I want Corbin, and I want to pick the stipulation if they win. And Stephanie is out agreeing, as long as it's kind of vague. It was either as long as he leads the team to victory, or if the men's team wins the match. He's going to get all those things. As long as that happens and he doesn't touch Baron Corbin before Survivor Series. So Steph starts trying to do more motivation talk about Survivor Series to go along with that, and lo and behold, Ronda Rousey comes out, takes the mic away from Stephanie, cuts a promo on Becky Lynch, and of course gives a glare to Stephanie, making it feel like that maybe she's gonna get some practice in on Stephanie McMahon before her match with Becky Lynch on Sunday. This does prompt Baron Corbin to come out to try to calm everybody down. That's right, he's gonna be the voice of reason, and he puts his hand on Ronda's shoulder. Big mistake. He gets flipped. Corbin leaves, or Ronda flips Corbin, ends out leaving, and then you had this giant stare down with Corbin and Braun Strowman. I thought the first segment was actually kind of good. This was rather enjoyable and actually got good motivation going throughout the rest of the show for the whole bit with the Raw team trying to become more unified, or Stephanie trying to unify them in any way, shape, or form. Up next, we had Tamina going up against Ember Moon. This was an alright match. Tamina ends up picking up the victory. You also had this little bit in there where Ember Moon tried doing her dive out to the ring, which she does that to Nia, and Nia just like no-sells the whole thing. To go along with it, just goes nowhere. She just kind of gives a weird glare, and eventually Nia does cause a distraction, and Tamina hits the Superfly Splash to pick up the victory. Like I said, it was a decent enough match. It was okay. You had Seth Rollins in an interview basically saying, with Corey Graves, Corey basically asked if he was mentally ready for Nakamura. He says he doesn't care about Nakamura at this time. He wants answers from Ambrose, and Nakamura is on Sunday, and that's where my focus will be once that happens, but I want answers now. Eventually, he calls out Dean Ambrose, calls him gutless, everything to go along with that, saying he doesn't have the guts to explain to him what happened to go along with it. I thought this was pretty good. I thought this whole bit was pretty good. Ambrose gets on the Titantron, and he is sitting in the, not in the bowels, but he's sitting outside in the cold in Kansas City on top of like a red Ferrari style car with an oil drum next to the car, and on fire already. So he basically explains. Initially he's like, I don't owe anybody an explanation, but what the heck, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you anyway. He basically said he felt that the Shield, initially the reason why he was with the Shield and felt that this was perfect was because he felt like it was supposed to make him strong, but in the end the Shield made him weak. I actually did like the promo to a certain degree. It was a little overkill with the fact when he decides to take the vest and throw it into a burning oil drum and adds gasoline onto the vest. It's a little overkill because you're throwing it in there. That's how they end up ending the promo. I thought it was a pretty decent and effective way of saying that Dean Ambrose doesn't really want to deal with anything Shield related anymore. And I thought it came off relatively good to go along with that. You had Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler come out to cut a promo. They initially Kurt Angle's music hits, and then Kurt Angle, or no Kurt Angle obviously, but then Dolph Ziggler's music hits and Drew McIntyre follows afterwards, like tradition with those two. McIntyre cuts a promo basically saying that Raw is his now, and this was absolutely fantastic. I liked the promo, how he was talking down to Kurt Angle, saying how he was crying and how, you know, miserable he is and how broken down he is. Throughout this entire promo, I liked where they went about with this. You had Finn Balor interrupt them, and basically Finn was not too thrilled with what Drew did last week to himself, with the Claymore kick to go along with it. He does come down and he does challenge he does challenge Drew McIntyre, but Drew's basically like, no, you can have a match, but you're going to have a match with Ziggler. And if I'm impressed by you, then I'm going to, they did the short joke again. Then I'm going to come down to your level and I'm going to face you afterwards at some point in time. And then Dolph kind of gives a little stare down on the side and Drew McIntyre headbutts Balor. That leads into the match that is next is Finn Balor versus Dolph Ziggler. This was a very good match. I like the factor of Finn picking up the victory here. It's still weird that Finn doesn't pick up a victory with the coup de grace anymore. It's usually by roll-up or something like that. It makes sense here because you do have Drew McIntyre out on the outside of the ring. So if he does look like he's going to go for his finisher, Drew's probably going to interrupt in some way, shape, or form. And it just came off. I thought it came off as a very good match. Finn Balor picks up the victory and escapes from Drew and Dolph. Eventually, you have Corbin and Stephanie backstage right after this, and Stephanie and Corbin run into Finn Balor. She congratulates Finn Balor, says that's exactly what we need, and you're going to be on the Survivor Series team. This causes a little dissension, where Corbin's kind of like, hey, can we talk about this a little bit? I mean, I've been kind of putting this guy down recently, but Stephanie wasn't having of it. Drew and Dolph come in, and she basically is like, nope, you guys got to get together as a team. You guys are teammates now, and then after Survivor Series, have fun, basically. Okay, decent enough, I guess. Up next, this was an interesting promo. I'm not gonna lie on this one. This was an interesting promo, and the delivery on it I thought was pretty good. The wording on it, I'm not sure. So Ronda Rousey basically cuts another promo on Becky Lynch and calling her the millennial man throughout the entire thing. I like some of the bits that she did in here, and I do like the whole aspect of one of Ronda's sayings during her time in MMA was changing the meaning of fight like a girl. That was one of the bits she brings in here. It's like, I didn't want to change the meaning of fight like a girl just so someone can call them, or so someone can come out there and call themselves the man to go along with it. I liked but disliked this promo. It was a little bit weird and kept going a little bit. Like I said, the delivery was fine. The wording on it was kind of lost on that one. It was what it was. Up next, you had the Riot Squad in the ring, and Ruby Riot basically was supposed to cut an apology about what she did to Jim Neidhart's sunglasses last week, and she went too far. Of course, she was faking it. Runs down Natalya a little bit more, which eventually she does interrupt. They were supposed to have a match, but Natalya interrupts and attacks Ruby Riot. Eventually, the Riot Squad do take full advantage, and they perform, again, another disrespectful act to Natalya by performing the heart attack to Natalya itself. I thought it was a decent enough segment. It did what it needed to do there to probably continue on with what they were going to go with down the line here. Up next, you had the Tag Team Battle Royal. The match that was supposed to start off the show got re-put back in there. This was an okay Battle Royal. They had some really good spots in there, and apparently Chad Gable and Bobby Roode have a new finisher, which is the neckbreaker moonsault, which actually looked really good. There was also a couple really good spots in there, especially from Lucha House Party being in the match. But eventually, Bobby Roode and Chad Gable pick up the victory by eliminating the Ascension and becoming the captain of the Survivor Series, the Tag Team Survivor Series Tag Team. Yeah, that's still weird to me. And again, based off of what you have on that Survivor Series team at this point in time, it is glaringly obvious that SmackDown has the far better tag team division than the Raw side of everything to go along with it. So up next after this was Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar coming out. Paul Heyman, of course, cutting his promo on AJ Styles, doing his normal shtick, which means it was really good with that one. And as he was getting to the point of saying, that's not a prediction, that's a spoiler, he gets interrupted by Jinder Mahal. and Jinder Mahal comes out with the Singh brothers, and they basically was like, they were warning him about AJ Styles. Like, last year I was supposed to be facing Brock Lesnar, WWE champion versus Universal champion, and then AJ Styles took the title from me just weeks away from that. And he's like, he was going to help Brock Lesnar by doing his mantra, the Shanti. And I like how Brock is like, Paul's initially is like, we don't want anything to do with your mantra or anything to go along with that. And Brock was just like, no, we should listen into this. I mean, come on. Well, why not? Let's just listen into this. It invites him into the ring, which means if you're getting invited into the ring by Brock Lesnar, prepared to get destroyed. Oh, wait, that's what happened. And he literally almost destroyed one of the Singh brothers. One of the Singh brothers took 2 German suplexes that looked absolutely brutal. Like, it looked like he landed right on his neck on both of them, and I don't know how he was walking afterwards in any way, shape, or form. And we even talk about potentially unsafe things. Oh, well, there you go. There's one there is a set of unsafe things, and there was even a rumor going around that maybe there was a little bit of issue with some of the other superstars about that Brock Lesnar just takes liberties and he gets away with it however he feels. It's like, I could just get away with it, whatever. Even talk about that. And I mean, that would definitely be a good case on that one. Generally, he does do they do things, or Brock does kind of just do what Brock does. In every way on that one, and even to a certain degree being a bit unsafe with certain workers that maybe weren't higher on the totem pole. We'll leave it at that. To go along with it, this is kind of one of those cases to go along with that, but he does destroy Jinder Mahal and the Singh brothers, and yeah, kind of Brock being Brock on that one. So this leads us to Bobby Lashley and Elias, and this will be for the last team spot on the men's Survivor Series team. And of course, Lio Rush was out there, everything on that one. They get interrupted by Elias. That is the thing now. As a heel, Elias was continually getting interrupted. Now that he is a babyface, he gets to interrupt everybody else. And he even does a bit before the match calling Child Protective Services. And his comedic timing is great. His timing in general for everything has been absolutely fantastic. And the one thing that I'm really liking about Elias as a babyface is that he hasn't really changed. He's basically just going after heels at this time. But otherwise, everything about him really hasn't changed. He's still kind of snarky. He's just not making fun of the crowd anymore to go along with it. He's just going after the heels at this point in time. So, like I said, I'm still kind of liking Elias on this whole aspect of him being a babyface, mainly because he hasn't changed much, if at all, outside of whom his verbal attacks are going after on that one. The match itself was rather short. It came off pretty decent, though. I thought both of them worked pretty well. Elias does chase Lio Rush around the ring. Eventually, he hides under the ring, and they get to a point that they're very close to a count out, and the ref gets up to 8. Elias throws Lashley into the ring. As Elias is going into the ring, well, guess what? Lio Rush was under the ring, grabs Elias's foot and prevents him from getting in the ring and getting him counted out. So now Bobby Lashley is part of the Survivor Series tag team match on that side. And after the match, basically Elias gets fed up with it. He does get Lio Rush, gets him in the ring, and then chucks him to the outside right into Bobby Lashley, and that's kind of how they ended out the segment. Up next, you had Alexa Bliss, and this is where the main event pretty much started. You had Alexa Bliss coming out to announce her Survivor Series tag team for the women's side. She has Mickie James, Nia Jax, and Tamina with her, and so she announces all 3 of them to be a part of the team. okay, that makes sense. She does announce that Natalya is going to be part of the team, but since she's been going through a little bit of emotional distress, she's going to be not here right now on that one. And then announces that the last member of the team was going to be the winner of the next match, and those people were going to have, her words were basically like, these people are going to have to show that they are willing to sacrifice everything for the Raw side, including friendship, which meant it was Sasha Banks and Bayley. And we got Sasha Banks versus Bayley. I thought the match itself, up of course until the end when they decided to do a no contest for it, I thought it was an absolutely good match from both sides. Definitely not their best work on that one, but they definitely put their all into the match for what they were given in this one. The match ends when Sasha Banks puts Bayley into the bank statement, and Tamina, Mickey, and Nia basically attack both of them, leaving them lying, which then Alexa's like, oh, both of them didn't win. Ruby Riot's on the team. It's like, and I loved how Cole was like, then what was the point of having them fight if they were never going to be on the team to begin with? On that one, I like the aspect that they people did do something like that, and then of course Corey's like, well, it was just for entertainment purposes. Like, well, that's kind of dumb to go along with it. So a good enough play on that one. I liked what they did there. They cut backstage, and there's commotion happening backstage, and lo and behold, they get the camera in, and it's Becky Lynch. Basically having Ronda Rousey in the disarmor and talking trash the entire time through that one. She lets go of the disarmor, leaves after a couple people are like, okay, and then Ronda's there holding her arm, obviously in pain. As things were going down, lo and behold, Becky's music hits. Still weird on the aspect of she's on Raw, or she's from SmackDown, but on Raw, and yet her music hits for her to enter the arena. A little bit weird on that one, but I like the scenery that they decided to go with this one, because not only does Becky Lynch come out, she comes out strutting to the ring and just basically talking trash to the entire Raw team. Eventually, the entire SmackDown women's roster attack. Everybody gets in the ring, and big brawl, big invasion happens in there. And this is where we've got to talk about what went down, because the visual was absolutely fantastic. The results, not so much. The result, not so much on that one, because as you did see, Becky Lynch does get busted open in the melee and everything to go along with that, and kind of it was suspected of a broken nose, which is kind of confirmed on that one, on that side. But throughout the entire brawl, even after that point, Becky's still fighting. Eventually, Ronda comes down, starts attacking some of the SmackDown women, but Becky Lynch gets a chair and lays her out, and then goes up the rampway, and that's where you get that great visual for the night. You just have Becky Lynch, arms spread out, bloodied up face, and the fans going absolutely crazy throughout the entire bit. It was absolutely a fantastic visual that they had there, which was more of an accident on that side of everything. Now, that's where the controversy kind of got going, was, well, how did she get busted open? Well, it was shown a little bit later that it was a punch to the face from Nia Jax. Like almost a legit, like just full on, she connected too good with her punch to Becky Lynch, which caused change to Survivor Series, because not only did Becky Lynch get a broken nose, or as they diagnosed it, a broken face on SmackDown. Probably just sounds more gruesome that she got a broken face than a broken nose, but she also suffered a severe concussion within that time frame. And now the Becky Ronda match is off. And you know, I'm not going to be one that's gonna go out there and fully attack Nia Jax for this one, because honestly, the visual itself was absolutely fantastic. to a certain degree, this is probably going to be better for Becky Lynch because it might mean for a bigger match down the line with Ronda to go along with it on that side of everything. But so I'm not going to be one of those that goes out there and attacks Nia for this one. Obviously, from all intents and purposes of it, it looked like it was an accident. It was just, she connected too good with the punch there, because they are told to go out there and throw stiff punches, stiff forearms to make it look good, and a punch connected too good. We'll leave it at that. The main debate on this one, at least to the Nia Jax side on this, is there is a history, and there's a lot of other people that have histories of it as well within the company at this point in time. Seth Rollins being one of them for a period of time. It obviously hasn't happened in quite a long time since everything was Sting on that side. But it does bring up the debate of whether or not Nia Jax is a safe worker to go along with that, because she does have a recorded history of injuries in her matches. And potentially other severe injuries that go along with that. The one case was, one of the cases is right after WrestleMania 33. She had a match with one-on-one match on Raw with Charlotte, which she went for a shoulder breaker, and when she released from the shoulder breaker, she accidentally dumped Charlotte practically on her head, almost breaking her neck in there to go along with that. That is one case. Also, later that year, leading into SummerSlam, after they've made the match with Alexa Bliss and Bayley, there was a match between Nia and Bayley where Bayley got her shoulder separated after a wayward throwing out of the ring at that on that point in time. And then there was a couple of other moves that kind of intensified that a little bit. Most recently, outside the Becky Lynch thing, Selena Vega during the Evolution Battle Royal, she throws Selena Vega out to be caught by Tamina, was a little bit off target, and it is reported, not fully confirmed, but it was reported that Selena Vega may have gotten concussion from that as well. It is a fair debate to say that maybe Nia Jax is unsafe on that one. Now, is it saying that she's meaningfully doing this to these people? I doubt that. And I don't agree with the attacks that are going out there. It's one thing to healthily debate something on this one, whether she's unsafe or maybe she needs more time in developmental, anything on that side. But a lot of the personal attacks that have definitely been going down is not something that's definitely something that's not needed in any way, shape, or form. And it's really hard to fully go on any of the sides to go along with that. They have seemed to they have seen on social media where they're allowing her to play a little bit more of a heel, where she did do a bit where she showed her hand after the match, like, no one's asking how my hand is. So they're allowing her to play a bit of a heel to go along with that, at least social media side. Of course, Becky Lynch responded to go along with it. And that, at least social media side, like, they've been going crazy with this on that side. But they did end out changing the match for Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch for Survivor Series, which came about on SmackDown, which we will talk about a little bit on that one. Like I said, this is one of those bits, especially with the potential rumor mills of this kind of leading to maybe something bigger down the line, where maybe Becky Lynch is going to be fighting Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania, and it has the potential of headlining WrestleMania to go along with it, because you can only imagine, especially with how they've been playing off with Becky Lynch a bit about being taken out of this match, where she was like, I'm very angry that I'm out of this match, kind of reminiscing back to the past a little bit with a certain somebody who was out with an injury, and was trying to fight to get back into the ring for a long period of time, and they did things to go along with it. Now, that's going to be the aspect. What do they do with Becky Lynch while she's out injured? Is she still going to be on TV, or she's just going to be gone? It depends on what they're going to decide to go with here on that side of everything, and see how they decide to go about the entire aspect of it as well. So it's definitely one of those areas that, you know, something happened, and it really did. And yes, Nia does have a history of it, and maybe she does need a little bit more time practiced or in developmental to go along with that. But there's no need for the personal attacks that people have been kind of doing on that one. You know, things happen. They do. It just happened in a big match potential big match situation, which, let's be fair, the way they positioned everything, the Ronda Becky match, that was ending the show. That was going to end the show for Survivor Series. It without a doubt in mind, based off how they've been positioning everything and how everything just felt, that was the main event of the show. To go along with it, it will probably happen at a later date, based off of promos and everything that go along with that. I'm imagining it will happen at a later date. So let's roll and continue moving forward and roll into SmackDown Live for November the 13th, 2018. And with all the craziness that was going on, what do? They doubled down on the crazy. Actually, let's just go with it. They tripled down. They tripled down on the crazy throughout this show. So they start off the show with basically the medical update from the night before on Becky Lynch, saying that she was not going to be be at Survivor Series. She was not going to be medically cleared for the match, so the match was off, and they were going to find a replacement to face Ronda Rousey. So AJ Styles comes out first. He starts cutting a promo on Brock Lesnar, and then lo and behold, he recognizes somebody down there, and it ends up being Paul Heyman down by Greg Hamilton's spot where the timekeeper's area was, trying to get a microphone, and eventually he was like, no, let him get a microphone. Let's see what he has to say this time. And Heyman starts putting over Styles, doing his normal shtick and putting somebody over, but then Brock Lesnar, but that wasn't what he was going with, but his butt was like, but you're only the second best on SmackDown. And he makes mention to Daniel Bryan, saying he's not as good as Daniel Bryan, and that we'll never get to see Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar. And of course, Styles is talking throughout the entire bit as well, making mention to tapping out Brock Lesnar, that he was going to, or not tapping out Brock Lesnar, but tapping out Daniel Bryan. He was going to make Brock Lesnar tap out because he left him limping the year before. Daniel Bryan comes out, and of course, Daniel Bryan was not sure why he was being talked about at this point in time. It felt out very weird, but it's like, if you keep mentioning my name and without any meaning or anything behind it, I'm gonna punch you in the face. I've been looking for another reason to punch you in the face. And then AJ is like, so you mean I can't mention your name in any way, shape, or form? So if someone comes up and asks me, who's the best competitor you've ever been in the ring with, I can't say Daniel Bryan. And then a big brawl ensues. Everybody comes in and breaks it up. They come back from commercial break. You have Shane and Daniel Bryan arguing backstage in the locker room with Paige. AJ Styles comes in there. They have to separate them. And then AJ it's like AJ wants Bryan that night, and Shane was like, okay, you got it, and the title's on the line, and they all end out separating. Like I said, they decided to go with the crazy, and it worked. The crazy worked on this one because it was good. So this leads to a match next with Andrade Cien and Almas going up against Jeff Hardy, and it was a good match. It was a good fast-paced match here with, well, Unfortunately, at this point in time, Andrade's going out there and putting on good matches, but he's not winning them in this case. So Jeff Hardy picks up the victory after a twist of fate and a swanton. Oh, that was louder than I thought it was going to be. That was a lot louder than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, we're going to turn that down a bit. There we go. That's better. That's better. Sorry about that if you heard a loud bing in there. So they go backstage right after this, and Paige was back there with The Miz. And basically, she says because Daniel Bryan has this match with AJ Styles tonight, he is now off the team and is going to be on team. And now Miz was going to be the only captain of Team SmackDown. And they say you have to find a replacement for Daniel Bryan. It's like, well, with how impressive he looked against Andrade there, Jeff Hardy is going to be on the team. And he wanted to kick off Rey Mysterio as well, saying that we need to get rid of the stink of Daniel Bryan on this team. Rey was his pick, everything to go along with that. And Rey's like, dude, just, and it's like, okay, whatever. It wasn't like, okay, whatever, but it's like, dude, it doesn't matter who picked me. I'm going to be on this team. I want to be part of this team. But he wants to still get rid of Rey. Paige is like, no, you can't do that. If you're going to want to get rid of him, you're going to have to go beat him in the match. And then he's like, and I like, and she looks at Rey and is like, are you okay with that? It's like, a chance to beat up Miz? Absolutely. Absolutely okay with that. And then Miz was going like, wait, what? And then Paige is just like, And the match is next. And Rey just walks out. Rey's like, all right, let's go. Rey was like literally in a zero giving any kind of F's at that point in time. Absolutely love that. Absolutely love that segment. Right before the match, you had a Nakamura interview, and he was being interviewed about his match with Seth Rollins, and he plays a portion of the promo saying that Seth Rollins isn't thinking about me, but I breathe Seth Rollins. I drink Seth Rollins. I eat Seth Rollins. He'll be ready for Seth Rollins. And Seth Rollins broke my heart, so I'm gonna break his face. I actually like this. I thought it was a pretty good promo. Up next was Rey Mysterio going up against The Miz. Rey Mysterio picking up the victory in this one. I thought this was a good match. And of course, Rey stays on the SmackDown Survivor Series team after reversing a roll up or kicking out of a roll up and then re-rolling up Miz to pick up the victory. After the match, Randy Orton comes out to try to attack Mysterio. Mysterio was able to get out of the ring. Orton bumps into Miz, and Miz eats an RKO. So Miz is just basically like, Randy Orton is in that phase of, yep, if you're in my way, you're getting an RKO. It doesn't matter who you are. I do actually kind of like that aspect behind it. Up next, this is where they had Paige come out. She brought out the entire women's division, and then Becky and says Becky Lynch was going to come out there and pick her replacement for the match with Ronda Rousey. And Becky comes out, cuts a promo on how angry she is about having to miss this match, how she pleaded and knocked on doors angrily throughout the day. I thought this was a great way of cutting a promo, even saying to the point, it's like, even with everything, I could still beat Ronda Rousey. Doesn't matter. And I won't be able to finish the job yet. So it's like, I won't finish the job now, but I will at some point in time. So we're expecting a match somewhere down the line. So she eyeballs everybody. Walking down the line, going past the Iconics, Charlotte, Naomi and Lana, and like Naomi's like, yeah, I'll do it. It's like trying to do the whole hand five, and it's like, and left hanging. She gets to Asuka, and Asuka's like just giddy to like, give me the match type feel, and even gets a huge pop from the crowd to go along with that. She does end out finishing going by Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, and Carmella. And then she turns back around, goes right over the Charlotte's like, it's going to be you. And you're gonna tap out Ronda, as I was gonna tap out Ronda. They shake hands, and then Becky Lynch, I think in an off-scripted moment, gives Charlotte a hug, and then they say something, and then she does say something to Charlotte within that time frame, which no one really catches what it was. And this was an interesting little bit there. Like I said, I'm assuming that was an off-script moment for Becky Lynch to give Charlotte a hug on that particular one, especially with how they've been working with the story. Or it could be kind of a respect type feel from the last woman standing match, anything to go along with that. You can take it in many different ways. Some people was like, based off of how heated the rivalry was, it wasn't necessary. Like, and it leads me to believe again it was more of a off-script moment to go along with it, because even to the point of like Charlotte was like, whoa, we're not okay. Well, she was not expecting it to go along with it, so leads me to believe it was an off-script moment on that one. So this leads to interview with Charlotte backstage, saying that for half my career, I've fought Becky. Now I'm fighting, and then, you know, I fought with Becky. I fought against Becky. And for Sunday, I will fight for her on that one, and having the match with Ronda Rousey. And that was basically all that to the promo. After this, you get a match with The Bar and The Big Show going up against The New Day. Again, I thought this was a good six-man tag match with The Bar and Big Show picking up the victory after Big Show hits the KO punch to Kofi, who was trying to do a dive off the top rope to catch. He catches Kofi with a knockout punch and picks up the victory. Good six-man tag. Nothing much to it outside of their feud going probably further a little bit with New Day and The Bar. Up next, you had a promo from the Usos with the other tag teams that were going to be on the Survivor Series tag team elimination tag team match. Still weird to say. It's still really weird to say. I thought this was a good promo, but they show that because it was already Usos and New Day. They have the Colognes now. They have the Club, and they have Sanity. It should just really be a 5-0 match. It really should for Sunday. That's how they should just describe that one at this point in time. They'll probably make it look like it's closer than what it actually is, but definitely based off of how the teams look, the SmackDown Tag Team Division just looks far better and far superior to the Raw one at this point in time. I thought this was a pretty good promo from them. They basically say, instead of welcome to the Uso Penitentiary, it was welcome to the SmackDown Penitentiary. I thought it was a good enough promo. Did what it needed to do going into that match. So this led into the main event of the night. And like I said, it's like, if they decided to go with the crazy, why not go all in with everything on this one? It was Daniel Bryan going up against AJ Styles. And this match basically kind of started out like their match from a couple weeks ago, and in the terms of working throughout the entire thing. You had Daniel Bryan working over the arm to set up for the yes lock, and you had AJ Styles working over the leg and the knee to set up the calf crusher for later. And they continue going through this. It's a very good match from start to finish on those particular ones. The crowd not necessarily fully into it right off the bat, maybe because it was kind of what you'd seen. And then towards the end, it's where it gets a little bit crazy on that one. You have AJ Styles countering a yes lock attempt, trying to go into a potential Styles clash, which Daniel Bryan gets out of. Eventually, he launches him AJ Styles over the rope. AJ counters Daniel and to set up the phenomenal forearm, and this is where things get a little bit iffy. So Daniel Bryan, because the ref, of course, is right behind Daniel Bryan. As AJ goes in for the phenomenal forearm, you see Daniel Bryan take his hand and kind of shove him closer to the ref, which didn't knock out the ref, but knocked him into it to where he can't necessarily see something. And then lo and behold, you just see the tone in Daniel Bryan's face change. And AJ turns around and, well, lo and behold, Daniel Bryan uses a low blow and then hits the running knee and picks up the victory. Absolutely fantastic. Like, the match itself was fantastic along with it, but I loved the finish. And then you just see Daniel Bryan's, like, smile, not like the infectious, happy smile, but a smile of, like, I just did that. It was a little bit more sinister, a little bit more evil. We'll leave it at that. And then Daniel Bryan looks at the title, looks at AJ. It's like, I've gone this far. Let's go all the way. And he beats the crap out of AJ Styles to finish off the show. And it is, lo and behold, full heel turn Daniel Bryan. And yes, we are getting Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series, with it being the champion versus champion matches. And that was absolutely crazy with what they decided to go with. Like I said, they didn't just double down on the crazy. They were like, yeah, you know what? Let's triple down on it. Not only is Daniel Bryan going to pick up the victory, we're going to have the heel turn too, to go along with it. I absolutely loved it. And I love the aspect of the heel turn. It does give another interesting dynamic towards Daniel Bryan. Something that he might have been missing since he's come back is an extra dynamic to him. And I thought it came off really good on that side of everything. And it's also leaving me a little bit scared going into Survivor Series as well, because, well, what does Brock Lesnar do? A lot of German suplexes. It leaves you scared for Daniel Bryan on that one. It'll be interesting to see what kind of story they tell going in, or what kind of story of the match that they tell in Survivor Series. It'll be an interesting one to see what they decide to go with. And that even did play in the Mixed Match Challenge as well, where they even played off of that a little bit more. It's like, will AJ be able to compete in Mixed Match Challenge? And the answer ended up being no on that one. They did have a replacement, which I'll talk about in a brief moment. But the first match was Mickie James and Bobby Lashley going up against Ember Moon and Braun Strowman, and I thought this was actually a pretty good match between the two of them. They have a new little caveat to the Mixed Match Challenge now as well. So apparently the winners, and they've decided to really up the antes on what the winners get for the Mixed Match Challenge. Apparently the two winners get their number 30 spots in their respective Royal Rumbles. So we're going to know through this who's going to have the number 30 spots, which I'm absolutely all right with, because, hey, now we just know who they are instead of being potentially disappointed at who it is to go along with it on that side of everything. And then, of course, they added the other caveat of there will also be an all expenses paid vacation for the winners as well to go along with it. So you have the number 30 spot and a vacation for that. It's like, not bad. And for the first match, like I said, I thought they did some pretty good stuff. This one was not doing more of the joking around that we've kind of been seeing throughout most of the Mixed Match Challenge. This one is kind of getting to the point that they're being a little bit more serious about it because the playoffs are coming. That's right, playoffs. Yeah, that's right, playoffs. Apparently there are going to be playoffs in this one with four teams. So only one team's going to get eliminated during the round robin portion. Then they're going to go into a single elimination tournament style, and then the winners from Raw and SmackDown face each other at TLC on that one. So that's kind of how this thing is working now. Not a bad way of going on that one, I guess. And like I said, it gives a little bit more stakes to the Mixed Match Challenge. Gives you more of a reason to watch too on that one. Ember Moon and Braun Strowman pick up the victory in this one with Mickie James taking the Eclipse and of course doing her oversell to the Eclipse as well. I thought the match was pretty good with that one. The second match of the night was going to be Charlotte and her new tag team partner for the night. I think it's just for the night because I think it's going to be AJ in the end anyway. But it was going to be Jeff Hardy going up against Miz and Asuka. Again, playing a little bit more serious role in this one. Both teams, just like from before, were undefeated. But the ending has Jeff getting rid of Miz and Asuka kind of getting rid of Jeff, but Charlotte spears Asuka and puts her in the figure eight, and Asuka ends up tapping out. So both teams are in the playoffs on this one. So in the end, it was more of a momentum, and I guess who would get the 1 seed for both of these matches on either side. And for the next week, they basically have the 2 teams that don't have wins yet. One team is winning and going on, the other team is losing and going home, in the sense of go home for the end of the season on that one. Not a bad section of Mixed Match Challenge. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was pretty good in the end, and I thought I've been enjoying Mixed Match Challenge. It's been interesting that they've been keeping things going, or not necessarily keeping things going on that one, but they've been keeping things kind of how the other Mixed Match Challenge was, which was a little less serious and everything, and everybody kind of they feel like they loosen up and they're just going out there and having fun with it to a certain degree. And you still got that feeling this week, but they play it off as a little bit more serious this week, because like, we want to win these matches at this point in time. A little bit more seriousness behind the matches to go along with it. So this leads us into NXT for November the 14th, 2018. And this NXT was all right, but it wasn't necessarily great. You did get a couple good matches in there. You had Mia Yim going up against Bianca Belair, and I thought that match was really good, with Bianca Belair picking up the win with kind of a reverse burning hammer. I forget what she calls the move at this point in time, but it's basically a reverse burning hammer to go along with it. But for the most part, this show was a lot of promos. You did get a squash match with Lacey Evans in there as well. And then, of course, you had you did have a couple of promo segments. One was setting up Matt Riddle for against Cassius Ohno next week, where Cassius Ohno is like, "Hey, I challenged you last week. Where are you going to Regal? I was testing you. Why are we not having a match?" It's like, you know, and Matt Riddle is like, "Okay, I'll pass your test, and then I'm gonna knock you out." And Matt Riddle just comes off as the most chill guy even saying that. It's absolutely fantastic. You also had a bit where, because you had a member of the Undisputed Era was supposed to go up against a member of the team of the War Raiders, Pete Dunne and Ricochet, to find out who was going to gain the advantage going into the War Games match. You had Ricochet, Pete Dunne arguing, it's like, "Hey, it should be me, it should be me, it should be me," or they just continue, or like, "No, if you want the advantage, take me." Ricochet, "No, it has to be me." And then Rose just like, "Both of you shut up, Hanson's doing it." Okay. That's how we're gonna go. So it was Hanson versus the Kyle O'Reilly from the Undisputed Era. I thought this was a good match. Your kind of expected shenanigans did happen in this one. Adam Cole comes down to cause a bit of a distraction to gain an advantage for Kyle O'Reilly. This causes Rowe to come down. He takes out Adam Cole. Eventually, Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish come out to attack Rowe. Pete Dunne comes down to even the odds, and eventually Ricochet does a dive from the other side of the ring as the referee is like, leaning out, is like, "Hey, you guys need to get out of here," and then all of a sudden Ricochet flies over him. This allows for Kyle O'Reilly to pick up the tag team title and hit Hanson with it, with him in the back of the head with it, and picking up the victory over Hanson to gain the advantage for the Undisputed Era going into the War Games match. I thought that was a good match as well. Like I said, I thought you got a couple of good matches, but the overall NXT going into War Games was just all right. There was a lot of hype and a lot of promoing to go along with it, But you did get a couple pretty good matches to go along with it as well. It'll be interesting to see how War Games comes off and everything to go along with that as well, on that side of everything. Everything is still up in the air as well. I did want to let you know that everything on this one is still up in the air for both War Games and Survivor Series. There is a potential for live reactions, but I don't know if I'm going to do them at that point in time. It's gonna be up in the air, and how I feel about everything going into either one of those shows at that point in time. So we'll see how everything comes off on that one and see how it ends out going in the end. So with that actually being fully said, I would on everything to go along with that, and I've still got a film. I'm going to be doing another filming right after this show. I'm going to take a quick break and then film my one thing that's going to be coming out tomorrow, which is a classic pay-per-view review. And it's going to be of Survivor Series 1999. So we will be doing that one here. I'll be filming that not live. I'll be filming that off of a stream, and then I will be uploading it. That should be going up tomorrow before NXT TakeOver occurs on that one. And I would expect some kind of NXT TakeOver and Survivor Series reviews, and I may be doing live streams for those ones as well. So with that being said, everybody, that is it for this week's episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle. I hope you guys enjoyed everything this week. I thank you guys for watching, and take care, and hope you have a great rest of your day. And we'll see if we'll have some time for the live reaction side for NXT TakeOver War Games and for WWE Survivor Series. Like I said, they're up in the air at this point in time, but we'll see how everything goes. So peace out, take care, and have a great rest of your day.